Okay, good morning, everybody. Happy New Week. Back in the office this week, in the Melbourne office. Last week was a public holiday, so we skipped that one. And right next to me, I have a Wendy Trevarthen over from Brizzy, and you can see behind her already. I don't even need to make the introduction. She has got her two books, Midlife Mojo and Dear Nurse Me. So thank you, Wendy, for jumping in this morning, and we're going to talk a little bit more about your Midlife Mojo book and the things you're doing behind that. But before we begin, let's do the official introduction and we'll get stuck into some gold nuggets you've got to share about your 3 shortcuts to happiness this morning, guys. Wendy prides herself in empowering others to achieve their highest values in life and enhances motivation, achievement, and success. Wendy is a registered nurse and has had an extensive career in the health sector across clinical, middle management, and educator roles. She has been the recipient of many awards with the Queensland Cancer Council, including study at the Royal Marsden Hospital in London. She's an author of 2 books, as you can see behind her, Midlife Mojo, and recently published Dear Nurse Me. She holds postgraduate qualifications in cancer nursing and adult health education and has successfully mentored many nurses along her career pathways. Her ability to connect and provide long-term sustainable solutions for others is her trademark. Her passion for helping others combine her personal and career experiences. Wendy's clients have described her as being inspirational and provided caring motivation for them to reach their goals. All right, Wendy, let's get into many accolades there. Such an amazing career of so many things that you've done and so many people that you have helped. So this morning we're talking about your first published book, Midlife Mojo, that we worked on about 4 years ago, wasn't it?
4 years ago, that retreat, the August 2018 retreat.
The still record holding retreat. August 2018 was the retreat that Wendy attended, and then she published Midlife Mojo, and only recently she got a group of 6 nurses to come together and write letters to their younger selves. But more importantly, we're talking about the 3 shortcuts to happiness. And I know your flavor is all around midlife, because it is around midlife that people can get stuck in a rut, if you know what I mean, in a few different areas of their life.
Yeah, definitely. And that's where I found myself in my 40s, leading up to the 50. That I was clinically obese, and I had a few things going on, and with my personal life, my career life, and everything just seemed to be in a bit of a jumble. So I made some really conscious decisions around my health and well-being that encompassed everything, and including in that was me seeking my own reasons why, and what were my motivators, and why was it important for me to maintain my own health. I realised nursing other people with chronic illness, that if I didn't do something at that time, that I was going to end up looking, somebody's going to look after me with a chronic illness. So really important. And, it was important at that time with so many changes going on. And I understand, looking back on it, that it just seems to be like a knot in a bow tie. Like you've got so many things going around with your family and your work and career life, and you're, the glue in the middle. So if you don't look after that and your health, then everything else just seems to not work. So my joy in life is try and find people's their thriving spot. So what actually is their magic or their mojo, to keep that solid so that everything else around them can actually work.
Yeah. Amazing. So what are these 3 shortcuts to happiness in our life?
Yeah. So my book is designed, like the first part of it is around about your key motivators. And one of the underlying things there is actually understanding your own core values. So you mentioned at the beginning, like my little mantra is all around values. And I get that all the time. People say to me, Wendy, how have you stayed resilient and strong through everything that you've gone through? What actually underpins everything that you do? And it has to come back to the core values that I own. So my top 3 values, you can go through a values elicitation exercise. So there's lots of them out there, and I do that with my clients to identify the top 3 values. And you, Nat, actually say during the seminar and to your authors that if you don't push your book up into those core 3 values, the book is just not going to happen. And that happens with everything in your life. So my core values that pulled me through all of this, well, the number 1 was health. So I recognise, that if you don't have your health, everything else is going to fall apart. The number 2, and probably in parallel, was family. So very strong, looking after my 2 children, and I still do to this day. I've made changes in my life and career around my children. And the third one is it's a value of respect. So that was the way that I was brought up with my parents, and I instill that with my children and everything that I do. And when those core values get compromised, that's when you find your body actually physically reacts to that in a stress response. So recognizing that stress response is really important to understand that those core values of yours are being challenged. So they can be challenged in a positive way, an extension, but they can also be challenged in a negative way. And when they get constantly challenged in a negative way, we find ourselves in a bit of a pickle with our health. The feedback to your body and your organs is becoming unbalanced. So that's the first shortcut, is actually recognizing where those,
pause for a second and reflect on it. Have your values shifted throughout life? And
I think the older that you're so busy with everything, with your family and everything, that you don't really take the time to reflect. And I really admire, the younger ones these days that are actually very in tune with where their body is, and very able to recognize when things are not going right, and they identify the triggers very early. But I think in my mid-40s was when I really stopped and actually did a lot of self-reflection through those hard times to understand deep down what my core values. And from that time onwards, they've held fast. It's health, family, and respect. And definitely sort of in my career, if I wasn't happy in my work environment, it was the respect one that was being conflicted. Yeah. So that's the first one, actually recognizing where those values are being conflicted.
Nice. Yeah. Good morning to those that have been saying good morning. There's been a few people who've said hello and they're watching live, so I hope you're enjoying some of this wisdom Wendy is sharing with us. So yeah, absolutely. And I do believe, I think maybe later in life, I think your values can firm up, but perhaps maybe through your earlier life, maybe from the time you're 20 to 40, you can have kind of shifting priorities and all that kind of stuff. And I always say, actually, in life, you can choose what you value at particular times, especially if you want to focus on a particular project, or, your career may have been really, really, important at a particular stage. And sometimes people put health on the back burner and not remove that out of their top 3 values, which is what can happen. And then, you come back in and reevaluate. But you're absolutely right. All right, give us the second one.
The second one is feeding from that first one, is actually picking your hormone pickers. So we all know that hormones are the neurotransmitters that help us with our body systems to make them work. One of the key hormone, of course, with happiness is dopamine. So that's actually a motivation chemical, and we get that from a variety of stimulants. One of them is listening to music. Just to get up and moving can actually stimulate the dopamine in your body. And getting good quality sleep and eating enough protein is some of the things that you can do to raise the dopamine level. So there's 4 main hormones that I'm going to talk about here. There's actually about 10 that's involved with it, but these are the 4 main common ones. The second one is oxytocin. So they're your warm and cuddly feeling. So when you actually give someone a hug or you're patting an animal, that releases the oxytocin to give you that warm, and I call it the warm and fuzzies. Giving compliments. So this is why gratitude and edifying other people and getting satisfaction out of doing that also stimulates that oxytocin level in your body. Serotonin So that is it's like a love hormone, so that you can, when you're doing self-love activities such as enjoying a good yoga session or spending time in nature so that you're breathing in the fresh air, being in the sun. So being indoors is not a very good idea. Getting out in the sun, not only giving you that vitamin D, but also stimulating the serotonin levels and achieving a goal. So if you're a person, and Nat, you're really big on checklists and things, I know that because I've seen behind the scenes,
Yes.
but there's something about ticking those boxes that gives you that sense of satisfaction and achievement. So that's where the serotonin comes in. And the fourth one, of course, is stimulating your endorphins. So moving your body. This is why we love to dance. We love to laugh. That actually helps those endorphins. Being creative. So the painters amongst us, or the clay modelers, or, you know, getting that creative flow going. And my favourite, but not so healthy if you have too much, is eating dark chocolate. I mean, who doesn't like dark chocolate? So they're the four: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and the endorphin. So all of those activities will help stimulate those. So picking those activities that suit your lifestyle can really help you in elevating your happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything makes sense, and you can see why, you know, so many people's happiness or mental health was affected during the pandemic because they didn't get outside as much, or, you know, particular things. A lot of these things and activities almost were eliminated, or, you know, you had to really make an effort to, you know, make sure you were tapping into each of those things. So those are some really great suggestions. And I guess it would be good to have like a little checklist if you are feeling down. Have I done some of these things today? Because if I haven't, get up and have a dance, or do some movement, and get out in nature and things like that, which are all, everyone knows these are things they should be doing, but they're not doing it. Why do you think people ignore some of the like common sense things? What do you think that is?
Because they're not pushing it up with their core values, and they're getting you actually use a really good phrase called looping. So when they get into those negative thought patterns, they tend to loop through them, and they get stuck. So by making decisive action, or I've actually think of it as, what is your bare minimum that you're going to go, yes, that's my bare minimum, is that I am going to go for a 15-minute brisk walk every day. My bare minimum is that I'm going to have 3 vegetables during my day. So understanding what your bare minimum is, so that you can do that, tick the box that you've done that, and you feel like you have made a sense of achievement, rather than thinking I haven't done. So it's flipping it around, changing the mindset around your approach to actually doing these things and setting goals for yourself.
And I think you can get into a positive loop as well, where doing the positive things to, you know, you didn't end up in that loop. And I think what you're saying is setting your standards, like, as you say, what's your bare minimum? And if you like checklists like me, you'll tick them off. I mean, in my diary,
in your diary, yes.
Yeah, I've got my exercise and meditated, and next to it, it's got yes or a no. And my bare minimum is to have 4 per week. You know, so that's like where I go, okay, I've done my 4, I can slack off now, whatever. But yeah, that's a good one. And you're absolutely right. People get stuck in a loop, and the minute you start, you break this circuit, you know, you can also go on a positive loop. All right, what's number 3?
Number 3 relates to this as well, and that's building healthy boundaries. So again, they're driven by your values and also by your routines and habits. And your boundaries can include your own boundaries. So these are your personal belief systems. So making sure you're very strong in understanding that, and building, some language around that, some positive language, so that you can, if someone's actually crossing those boundaries, that you have the repertoire of words that you can use without hurting that other person. Like, for example, in business, we say, you know, if we have a client in a business relation, we go, you know, is this client actually a fit for what we offer? or are they not a fit? So if it doesn't fit, it doesn't work, then it's a kind of a nice way just saying that it's not working, it's not a fit for us. So personal boundaries, boundaries around families and friends. So this is where it becomes a little bit sticky. So we're all obligated with families and friends, but again, it's can be quite complex. But also you can actually sort of make it a bit lighthearted too. So making sure you've got other time factors, or creating that space around you. And and that doesn't happen in the short term. Building skills for that can need to happen over a long term time. Career boundaries, so workplace boundaries, understanding what your role is within the organisation that you're working for, or what your role is in your own business, where you can give and when you need to stop giving, and allowing that space for yourself. So building healthy boundaries around what you do every day is really important, and recognising when those boundaries are actually being crossed or breached. Sometimes people don't actually recognise boundaries. I've been reading Jenny Tebbet's book actually, so thank you, Jenny. And she talks about socially awkward children that have difficulty in learning those social boundaries, and that can transpire into adults where they haven't developed the skills in creating those social boundaries. So, and it's you don't know what you don't know. So if somebody is letting you getting away with crossing some boundaries, just a friendly reminder is something that you all need. And again, it's about setting those standards for yourself and for those around you. Yeah.
Especially when in midlife, we're probably the busiest we'll ever be in life. If you're raising children, you maybe have elderly parents, and there's so many competing priorities around career as well. That's where really that practice of setting boundaries has to come in. And I think we also become wiser and better at it as we get older. Is that right, would you say?
I think you can recognise your expectations, so your own expectations as well as others. And I think too, the more that you actually do activities or you follow patterns, you can identify your own shortcuts in doing things, or you can actually you can see that something's going one way, so you probably nip it in the bud very early before it actually goes down that trajectory. And I suppose that comes with life wisdom, I guess.
Wisdom,
yeah.
I love that. So what else can will people learn through Midlife Mojo?
So with the book, or with because my midlife
book, because I'd love to talk about like what you're creating right now that's going to be launching soon.
Yeah. So as a part of this, like you said, I wrote this book 4 years ago, and it was a bit of all three of what you call a legacy, launch and leverage book. So it leveraged into creating my one-on-one clients at the time. Nigel and I, my partner and I, are personal trainers. So we were looking at our local community and doing some group fitness sessions. And a part of that personal training, I went and explored a little bit about wellness coaching. So being a health professional registered nurse doesn't really touch on all the aspects of wellness. It's more of a medical profession. But when I did the wellness coaching, it just made a lot of sense to incorporate those aspects of it as well. So this is what I've put into the Reclaim Your Mojo program. So I just felt, my skills around people with chronic illness, even if they have got some things going on them, they can still have a sense of mojo or magic around their condition. And it's important, like we said today, about the happiness. If you're in a happier place, you tend to cope with a lot of things a lot better. So that's the Reclaim. So that one-on-one coaching, I'm now developing and putting it into an online 6-week program, which will be, it's being restructured at the moment and will be available in July. So some of the things around that include some webinars. There's daily motivation videos around activity that is appropriate for midlifers and beyond. It's very authentic. So that's me. But it's giving you tips and encouragement and support every day about motivating you to keep going. And I'm developing it as an evergreen. So the strategies that you learn in that 6 weeks, you can repeat for the future and modify depending on, your situation at the time. So somebody who, has, some heart conditions, they might have some periods that they're actually feeling quite energetic and can do things, and other times not so. So they have to peak and trough depending on how they're feeling to modify what they're actually doing. And I try and make it along the lines of setting routines and habits so that you're it's a lifestyle change. And it's funny that when you actually do, and you would know this yourself, when you get into a routine and then suddenly you don't do it for a week or so, you go, oh, I really miss. Yeah. And you look forward to getting back on track and getting finding your mojo and getting your bounce back and moving forward. So that's what I'm doing. So it's pretty exciting.
Where can people find out more about what the online program launches? Is it going to be your website or?
It'll be on the website. It's being worked up behind the scenes at the moment. So my website is called Healthy Options Now. We've only got a few pages available at the moment with the books, but we're preparing that as an online program. And also after the program's complete for 6 weeks, then the participants will be invited to join in with a membership. And a bit back to front, so the 6 weeks will be at a cost, and then the membership will be a lower cost to maintain because they're repeating the steps of the 6-week program. And you've just put up the website link for my book.
This is the healthyoptionsnow.org for anyone that is listening to this interview as an audio. We should say it, otherwise they can't see it on the screen. But yes, this is where the book is through the shop page. But this is where you will be able to find out where to enroll into the course when it launches in about a month's time.
That's it.
That's exciting. So tell me a little bit about, I know it was a little while back, but about how you found the process and the program and going through, writing the book in the 48-hour author retreat and the subsequent steps. I mean, you've done it now twice. You now published the second book. So talk to me about, kind of those early feelings when you didn't know what you didn't know.
Well, I didn't know, and I was just going to start off by answering that by, I came to your seminar with an idea that I wanted to write a book, but I didn't know what it was going to be about. And, very quickly during that seminar, I pinpointed that I want to get that health message out there that I felt was a bit of a gap in what I was doing nursing-wise, and because of my own story. And the impetus behind me going into nursing, I thought was a story to be told about my father and how I, treasure every day as it comes along. And, the whole experience, like for me, it was transformational. So recognizing or giving myself the confidence that I could write a book, that I could structure a book, that I could identify the steps that I had taken and then put that out there for other people to learn from what I learned. Yes. I was just so proud. Like when we actually did the mock-up for the cover for this, so it was basically the same as this but different fonts, etc. What really got me in the room was the physical reaction from everybody in the room. They kind of went, whoa, and you get that on the online retreat, but face to face, it's a little bit more pronounced. Yeah. And that really sort of, I went, oh, gee, I am onto a good thing here. So let's keep going with it. The retreat experience was good. Yes, the socialising was good. Just learning, you've got a wonderful way of pulling the best out of people, and I've been fortunate enough to gain that from you and role model the steps as well, for others to actually duplicate in their own world in the way that it is important to them. and last year when I was looking at the Dear Nurse Me collaboration,
Yes.
in the back of my mind, like my nursing career had spanned 36 years, and for me to actually look back on my career, I wanted to give back to, you know, some of the students that I'd looked after in the last couple of years, and I just felt that there was a bit more nurturing needed. The brief that I gave the other nurses was around humanity and nursing and how important it is, and that's come through in the book. The experience of that, project coordinating. I remember when we first talked, you said, Wendy, if you're going to do this, you're going to be the project coordinator. And I went, oh, yeah, okay, I can do that, because I've done a lot of project work in corporate health. But it was taking on a project. Yeah, it was really, but it was worthwhile. The nurses themselves have identified that it was a worthwhile wellbeing experience for them. So there's the wellbeing coming into helping them. So
I love it. And you did an amazing job, because it's not for the lighthearted when you have to project manage you know, other people who need to write their parts of it. But yeah, I've met quite a few of the nurses that took part in this book, and it's wonderful, you know, and to see you guys at your book launch and all that sort of stuff, it's been really, really cool. So, you know, is there more books in you in the future?
I think there is, you know, but I'm not it's not up in my big three values at the moment.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Every 12 to 18 months I get that urge, and I'll just kind of go, and then the idea drops, and then it just happens very quickly, because then I'll just go and focus on it for a temporary period of time, and then I get it out. But yeah, you'll know when you're ready for the next one.
That's it.
And Dear Nurse Me also, guys, is available online through, I saw it on your website, but I didn't see that you could buy it. It said out of stock. So look it up on Amazon, because I know it's on there. And I'm sure Wendy will fix up whatever was happening on the website.
Yes.
Yeah, and you'll be able to also find the Kindle versions as well online as well. So thank you so much, Wendy, for sharing your experience and your 3 shortcuts to happiness. You know, I know a lot of people think of them as common sense, but it's a good reminder, you know, have I been doing this? Have I not been? What's been going on? You know, I think always we can get into a particular pattern, and we may forget some of those good things for us. So this is always, even me, like just sitting here going, okay, you know, what haven't I done out of those things that I could get back into, you know, to even zhuzh up even more happiness in life.
That's it. And I think understanding why those three things work, if you understand how they work, I think you're more likely to enable yourself, to remind yourself to be able to do those bare minimum things to get them going.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. Oh, well, guys, go and check out these couple of books, especially, and look out for Wendy's upcoming online course in July. I'm sure she'll let us know a bit more information when that's kind of ready to launch. I talk to her regularly, so if you need to get in touch with her, you can get in touch with me, and I'll put you guys in contact. So thank you again, Wendy, and guys, have an amazing week ahead. Brand new week. Almost school holidays, so hopefully you have something planned if you've got kiddies around. We're off to Bali this Thursday to warm up, and have a great week ahead. Smash it out, like I say always. Bye, guys. See you, Wendy.
Bye.